When your home life is so weird, you kind of don't want people to see a lot of it.
This is Chester Bennington, lead singer of Linkin Park, at the peak of his career.
All right, look at this. The talking part of the show is over. Now doing the song Fame. The reason some of you have been here since 4 this morning. Linkin Park.
Linkin Park.
Nominated for 3 Grammys, including Best New Artist and Best Rock Album.
Music should be your life. You need to live it, eat it, sleep it, wake up, and the only way you're ever even going to have a chance to make it in this business is if you're willing to sacrifice everything to achieve your goal.
And this is Chester just 36 hours before his death.
Oh shit, the same thing!
Okay, just
Oh, double dog screw.
I either got rotten egg or something else.
3, 2, 1, go.
Smiling, laughing, playing a game with his children. He looked happy. He looked at peace. But the next morning, he was gone. What happened in those final hours? Today, we're looking back at the life, struggles, and legacy of a man whose voice touched millions and whose silence left the world in shock. Chester Charles Bennington was born in Phoenix, Arizona, a place filled with sunlight, but for Chester, childhood was anything but bright. Starting at just 7 years old, he was the victim of repeated abuse, a torment that continued for 6 long years. He stayed silent, afraid of being judged or disbelieved. Even though his father was a police officer who investigated child abuse cases, Chester couldn't bring himself to speak up. When he was 11, his parents divorced. He lived with his dad, who worked long hours. That meant lots of time alone, with only his thoughts, and eventually, his pain. To cope, he turned to poetry, writing out his anger and sadness. But the pain was too much. Soon, Chester sought a different escape.
I don't know if anybody out there can relate, but like, I have a hard time with life sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes it's great, but a lot of times for me, it's really hard. And no matter how I'm feeling, like, I always find myself like struggling with certain patterns of behavior. I find myself like stuck in like the same thing that keeps repeating over and over again.
When you're a child carrying around pain too heavy for your age, the need to escape becomes instinct. And for Chester, that escape came early, and it came in the form of drugs and alcohol. By just 11 years old,
Most people probably don't relate Linkin Park or myself with, alcoholism or drug addiction or anything like that. And, but that's a part of my life, and it's been a part of my life since I was a very young boy. I started using drugs when I was 11. So it was, I definitely wasn't making records at that time.
Chester had already begun experimenting with substances. Most kids at that age are worried about video games or school crushes, but Chester was trying to silence the chaos in his mind.
So I was exposed to it really, really young, and there was a lot of things that happened to me as a young person that were really difficult to deal with. I think that given the nature of a lot of the aspects of my childhood, when that first person offered me, an escape from reality, I kind of took it and I ran with it. The one I would say that music has probably kept me alive.
He didn't ease into drug use. He dove head first. By his teens, he had already used marijuana, cocaine, opium, methamphetamines, and alcohol. The damage was visible. He grew dangerously thin, his face sunken, his body frail. Friends and teachers could see something was wrong, but no one seemed to step in. And the worst part? He was still a child, numb on the outside, tormented on the inside. At school, he was bullied. The drugs, combined with his vulnerable appearance and quiet demeanor, made him a target. He was mocked, pushed around, and humiliated. The bullying only reinforced the self-loathing Chester already felt inside, turning school into another space of torment rather than relief. As he slipped deeper into addiction, Chester began isolating more and more. He spent hours alone, avoiding friends and family, lost in a cycle of depression and drug-induced haze. But then came a turning point, one of the most frightening moments of his young life. One night, when he was 16 years old, Chester and some friends were hanging out, getting high in the Arizona desert. Out of nowhere, a gang of men ambushed them, attacking and robbing them violently. The experience left Chester rattled, bruised, and scared. It was a wake-up call. Something had to change. Realizing he couldn't keep going like this, Chester left his dad's house and moved in with his mother, hoping for a fresh start. But when she saw him, she barely recognized her son. He looked like a ghost, frail, hollow-eyed, and deep in withdrawal. Shocked and terrified, Chester's mother banned him from leaving the house. But even in isolation, Chester couldn't escape his cravings. Without access to harder drugs, he turned to alcohol. He drank to sleep. He drank to think. He drank to numb. But all it did was create a new dependency, a legal and socially acceptable addiction that slowly tore him down from the inside. He would later describe himself during that time as a walking wreck.
How am I in this? And it's that moment where you're in it, and then you kind of separate yourself from that situation, and you look at it and you see it for what it is, and you're able to then do something about it. Like you've now broken out of that circle, that cycle.
He was trapped in a dark cycle, haunted by his past, drowning in the present, and terrified of the future. Yet, through all of this pain, something quietly survived. A flicker of purpose, a voice, a passion, music. Even when everything else felt hopeless, Chester would still pick up a pen and write lyrics, or sit with a notepad, sketching raw thoughts and poetic fragments. His earliest songs were confessions, pain transformed into words. Amid the chaos, Chester still had one love: music. He joined a local band called Sean Dowdle and His Friends, which later became Gray Days. They released a few records, but success didn't come. Chester was frustrated and close to giving up. By age 22, he was a father, married, and working a desk job in digital services. His dreams of becoming a rock star felt gone, until one life-changing phone call. On his 23rd birthday, Chester got a call from Jeff Blue, a music exec who believed in him. Jeff offered him a shot to audition for a new band in LA, one that would soon become Linkin Park. Chester recorded a demo in just one day, and his raw, emotional voice blew everyone away. He got the gig, joining forces with Mike Shinoda to create something truly unique.
And then we got in the studio, and like the people were like that we were working with were saying, you know, we wanted you to change this and change that. This guy has this gimmick where he wears a red hat, and you guys need a gimmick. For us, we were just like, come on, man. Like,
We had to fight for that thing, man. Like, it was like, it got ugly at some points. And it was just like, this is what this is gonna be like? Fuck this. To kick a shoe off and have...
That was one of the gimmicks that they suggest. Like, just every show.
They named themselves Hybrid Theory, then later became Linkin Park. In 2000, they released their debut album, Hybrid Theory. It didn't just succeed, it exploded. Songs like Crawling and In the End turned Chester into a global star. But behind the scenes, the struggle was still there. With massive fame came pressure, travel, isolation. Linkin Park was performing 6 nights a week, year after year. Chester felt drained and began drinking heavily again. He was distant, missing rehearsals, coming back drunk or high, and angry at the world. His bandmates noticed, but they kept going.
And there was a lot of things that happened to me as a young person that were really difficult to deal with. And
even with internal struggles, Linkin Park released Meteora in 2003, another smash success. But by the end of the tour, Chester's life was spiraling. His marriage was failing, and his alcohol addiction was out of control. At his worst, Chester described falling through windows, having seizures, and waking up in hospitals. But finally, he asked for help. In 2006, with the support of his band and family, Chester went to rehab. He began working through the trauma he had buried for decades. He later divorced and found new love with Chester Bennington, with whom he rebuilt a more stable, loving home life. He was healing. For a while, he was winning. Over the next decade, Chester became unstoppable. Linkin Park released 4 more platinum albums, dominating the charts and redefining rock for a new generation. But even as the band thrived, Chester still fought his inner demons. In 2016, he relapsed for 3 days. He got clean again, but admitted he was still fighting daily cravings. Then came the single Heavy, a track from their new, pop-infused album One More Light. The song was deeply personal, but fans criticized the new sound, and Chester didn't take it well. He lashed out in interviews. The pressure was building again. In May 2017, Chester's close friend Chris Cornell, lead singer of Soundgarden, died. Chester was shattered. He sang at Cornell's funeral and posted online that he couldn't imagine a world without Chris in it. Just 2 months later, on July 20th, 2017, what would have been Cornell's birthday, Chester Bennington was found dead in his California home. The world was stunned. A man who helped millions feel understood had lost his own battle with the darkness. Chester left behind 6 children, a loving wife, and millions of fans who felt like they had lost a piece of themselves. The cause of death: he had a trace of alcohol in his system, and heartbreakingly, it was revealed he had attempted it before, but backed out. Since his passing, Linkin Park has gone silent, choosing to honor his memory over rushing into new music. But Chester's voice never left. The band has since released unheard recordings featuring Chester's vocals, reminding us of what made him so special.
There's so many circumstances that, for me, that relate to this situation, but like, I know that for me, when I'm inside myself, when I'm in my own head, it gets this place right here, this skull between my ears, that is a bad neighborhood, and I should not be in there alone.
Chester Bennington wasn't just a singer. He was a survivor, a man who fought every day to rise above pain, addiction, and trauma, and still gave the world his heart. His music gave millions of people the courage to speak, to cry, to heal. So today, we remember the man behind the mic, the father, the friend, the fighter. Let Chester's story be a reminder. No matter how happy someone seems, check in, ask how they're doing. Sometimes the ones who laugh the loudest are hurting the most. We miss you, Chester. Your voice, your story, and your strength will never be forgotten.